Course name American Literature, course code U18MCEN503. Topic Mirror. This is A. Annie Christie, Assistant Professor from the Department of English, Faculty of Arts and Science, Bharat Institute of Higher Education and Research. Today, I'll be taking a lecture on a poem written by confessional poet Sylvia Plath. The name of the poem is Mirror. Now, before starting the explanation of the poem Mirror, I would like to share certain points about the author Sylvia Plath and confessional poetry. Let's first see what is confessional poetry. During the 1950s in America, a new poetic style developed. It is called as confessionalism, pioneered by poets including Sylvia Plath, Anne Sexton, Robert Lowell. The movement heavily integrated the self. Traditionally unacceptable topics like suicide and sexuality emerged for the first time in completely transparent way. It is the poetry of personal. M.S. Rosenthal coined the term confessional poetry. Let's see about the characteristics of confessional poetry. So the characteristics of confessional poetry is intimate subject matters. It focuses on a subject matters once considered taboo. Taboos are that it is mental illness, sexuality, suicide, alcoholism, depression, drug abuse, gender roles, family life, infidelity, etc. Taboo is things that are seen as embarrassing and shameful when discussed frankly. It is always in the first person narrative, that is I, the word I used over there. Generally, the other poets will be preferring to write in the third person narrative. It is autobiographical by design. The poet and the speaker are one in the same and interchangeable. It speaks about personal life of the author. Lyrical craftsmanship. Rather than just pouring the heart out on a paper, confessional poets maintained a high level of craftsmanship. They paid attention to rhythm and intonation in their poems. Let's see about the life of the author Sylvia Plath. So Sylvia Plath was born on October 27, 1932 in Boston. She published her first poem at the age of 8.5 years old. Her two best known poems are Daddy and Lady Lazarus. The only novel which she has written is The Bell Jar. We'll look into the family life of Sylvia Plath. Like, her father died when she was 8 years old. After that, she got into a great depression. So, as a therapy, she started writing. Then, she attempted suicide many a times in her life. First attempt was at the age of 20 with pills, and then she attempted suicide twice before the age of 31. Getting back to the family life of Sylvia Plath. So, Sylvia Plath married a poet laureate called Ted Hughes on June 16, 1956. They had two children together, Frida and Nicholas, 1960 and 1962. Later, she learned Ted's infidelity and they separated. Ted left Sylvia Plath for another woman. The affair has been attributed to the suicide of Sylvia Plath. Let's see about the death of the author Sylvia Plath. So, after Ted left Sylvia Plath for another woman, she felt that because she is getting old, her beauty is declining. So, she feels ugly inside and outside. So, she decided that she wants to take her life out. She felt that because she is getting old, her husband left her. So this attributed to the death of Sylvia Plath. So Sylvia Plath committed suicide on February 11, 1963 in London. She left her two children, Frida and Nicholas, in their bedroom, provided enough food and drink for them, and she had head in oven with gas pots on. Followingly, she found dead by the nurse the next morning. So let's get into the poem Mirror. So Mirror poem has totally two stanzas. One, the first stanza is in the point of view of a mirror, and the second stanza is in the point of view of a lake. So in the first stanza, mirror is itself speaking. So let's read the first stanza and I'll explain the first stanza. I am silver and exact. I have no preconception. Whatever I see, I swallow immediately, just as it is, unmissed by love or dislike. I am not cruel, only truthful, the eye of a little god four-cornered. Most of the time, I meditate on the opposite wall. It is pink with speckles. I have looked at it so long, I think it is part of my heart, but it flickers. Faces and darkness separate us over and over. This is the first stanza of the poem. So here I is mirror. Mirror is the narrator here. So what mirror says, I am silver and exact. It says that it is silver in color and it is exact. I have no preconception. So it has no preconception, no judgment, prejudgment. It won't judge anybody. Whatever I see, I swallow immediately. Whatever the mirror sees, it takes in immediately. Here, it is like an omniverse. So it says that I swallow immediately, just as it is unmissed by love or dislike. I don't love anyone. I don't hate anyone. I will take it immediately just as it is. I'll be giving the exact reflection of whatever comes in front of me. It says, I'm not cruel, I'm only truthful. It's the mirror says that what I'll exactly show the reflection of whatever comes in front of me. Either it is a human or anything which is kept in front of me, I'll show the exact reflection of it. So it doesn't mean I'm cruel because I'm showing the exact reflection. So I'm only truthful, the eye of a little god four-cornered. Most of the time I meditate on the opposite wall. It says that I am like an eye of a little god four-cornered. So it compares itself with God's eye, like how God is watching over us. God will be watching over us from all the dimensions, from all four dimensions. God will be looking upon us. It is compares itself with God because when a mirror is kept in a room, it will be showing the full reflection of the room. So it compares itself with the eye of a little god. Then it goes on to say, most of the time it meditates the opposite wall. See, when there is no human or anything which is kept in front of the mirror, it will be always meditating at the opposite wall. It will be looking at the opposite wall for a long time, as I have looked at it for so long, I think it is a part of my heart. So it says as I am being looking at the wall for a long time and it has become a part of my heart. Like it says, the opposite wall is pink in color. So if it is pink in color, we can imagine that the room would be pink in color, and if it is pink in color, then obviously it would be a women's room. So it says that the wall, opposite wall is pink in color with speckles in sense, spots, tiny spots. So it is looking at the wall for a long time, so it can give the minute details about the wall. Even it can see the tiny speckles on the wall. So I have looked at it for a long time and I think it is a part of my heart. It says that the wall has become a part of its heart, but it flickers, faces and darkness separate us over and over. So only faces means the human who comes and looks at the mirror, that human faces, and the darkness at night separates the wall and the mirror again and again. This is the explanation of the first stanza. So this is how a mirror is kept in the wall. Thus we'll move on to the second stanza. So now the mirror has turned into a lake. In the second stanza, lake is the addresser over here. Like lake is the narrator. See, it says that now I am a lake. A woman bends over me, searching my reaches for what she really is. Then she turns to those liars, the candles and the moon. I see her back and reflects it faithfully. She rewards me with tears and an agitation of hands. I am important to her. She comes and goes. Each morning, it is a face that replaces the darkness. In me, she has drowned a young girl, and in me, an old woman. Races towards her day after day like a terrible fish. Now, the lake is addressing here. So, lake says that a woman comes to see the woman's reflection in a lake, searching my reaches for what she really is. She wants to look at herself in the water of the lake. Then she turned to those liars, the candles and the moon. Then she turns herself to the candles and the moons. Here the lake says that the candles and the moon is a liar. Why liar? Because the candle and the moon gives dim light. In the dim light, everybody will look beautiful because it won't be showing us the details of human faces. Like when we look at the mirror, every wrinkles and whatever is there in our face, it will be reflected as it is. But either in a either in a lake or a mirror, it will be showing the exact reflection. But when in the candlelight or in a moonlight, the details won't be seen much. So everybody will be looking beautiful in the light of candle and in the light of moon. So it says that the lake now says that I see your back and reflect it faithfully. So now the woman is turning her, like showing her back to the lake, because she is turning and feeling that she don't want to look at the lake anymore. She rewards me with tears and an agitation of hands. She is crying now. She don't want to look at herself in the water because she sees a ugly form of herself, and she wants to, like, an agitation of hands. She wrings the water, and I am important to her. She comes and goes. Even though she don't like to see her reflection, every day she comes and see the mirror and the lake. Each morning, it is a face that replaces the darkness. She'll come to me every morning to see herself. In me, she drowned a young girl. This is happening for a long time, that she, from her young girl, like from her young age, till now, she's coming every day to see herself in me. So, in me, she has drowned a young girl, in me, an old woman. It says that the young look of the woman is drowning in the lake. So, in me, she has drowned a young girl, and now the reflection of the old, like she's getting old, so the reflection of the old face is visible in the water. So, in me, an old woman races towards her day after day like a terrible fish. So, races towards her day after day like a terrible fish. How a terrible fish feels when it is out of a water, likewise the woman feels when she is getting old. So this is what the poem is all about. So this poem is compared with This poem is compared with a theory called Narcissus. So let us see about the Narcissus theory. In the various stories, this Narcissus, he is exceptionally cruel, in that he disdains those who love him. As divine punishment, he falls in love with his reflection in a pool, not realizing it was his own, and perishes there, not being able to leave the beauty of his own and not being able to leave the beauty of his own reflection. This Narcissus mythology is compared with self-centeredness. The mythical Narcissus alienated himself not only from other people but from the non-human beings and presences of the natural world. Gazing into a beautiful pond, he saw merely his personal reflection and absolutely nothing of nature. Without any intention of doing so, the mythical Narcissus provides each of us a warning. His eternal self-obsession causes us against such self-centeredness. We live in a culture that rewards and encourages such self-centeredness. Focuses on self-interest is encouraged. Every commercial is a chance to buy a new mirror, an offer of some new way to serve ourselves. As pilgrims passing through this world, we will walk through the land of Narcissus. We have chance to be renegades. The mirror we use are held in our souls, not in our faces. So let's see about the technical aspects of the poem Mirror. So the first technical aspect is free verse. The poem is in a free verse, in that it has no rhyme scheme. It is further unbound by any of the formal meter from rhythm. Symmetry. The poem is divided into 2 stanzas and each stanzas have 9 lines each. Also, both stanzas have 7 sentences each. This forms for the symmetry in the structure of the composition of the poem. Although it is a free verse, there is a solid structure to the poem there. It is an excessive use of stops in the form of commas and periods instead of enjambment, which suggests clarity and marks the poem appears more like a prose. Next, figure of speech. So, the first figure of speech is personification. The entire poem is a personification. Like, as the mirror, an inanimate object speaks in the first person and describes itself like a human being, possessed of human virtues. Next is comparison. So, the phrase "now I am a lake" forms a good example of a metaphor. Whereas the last line has a word like a terrible fish, forming a simile where old age is compared to a fish. Then repetition. Repetition is used tragically by the poet at the end of each stanza, giving it a trailing effort to represent continuity. The flickering of the pink wall over and over and the aging of a woman day by day are the examples of this. Thank you.